Hey guys, and welcome to the first episode of the Fuse Control podcast. Today's guest is a brilliant Joey Carta from Connecticut. We had a great chat talking about his journey to black belt, and I hope you guys enjoy it. How's it going, brother?
Hi. We're surviving.
Yeah. I mean, what was your job before, obviously, all this broke out?
As far as my job goes, nothing's really changed. I'm a correction officer. I work in a prison.
Oh, shit.
So I go to work. I'm still going to work every day.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm what they're considering an essential employee right now. It hasn't really changed for me, except for I haven't been on a mat in almost 4 weeks now.
Wow, man. So have you got PPE or anything like that, or when you're at work?
Oh yeah, we have masks they gave us. The inmates all have masks that they're wearing. We have. I mean, anytime. Even before this happened, just working inside a prison, anytime I'd have probably 15 pairs of rubber gloves in a pocket at all times, just because. Yeah, I mean that's just normal. But I mean now, now things are much more regulated. The way that we proceed with recreation on the shift that I work is much more regulated. We take our temperature when we go into work. They take our temperature when we leave work. So it's I'm sure over in England it's like the same thing right now.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because prisons, I guess, are like the hotspot for the disease, right?
Well, we have so far where I work, there's one person's tested, one staff member's tested positive. And then the last time I worked this unit, there were 16 inmates on quarantine. And then if they get sick, then we move them to another more secure cell block where we'll see what happens if that happens. But I know, several people already that have tested positive for it. A couple of them have already come through and are doing fine now. But I told my wife and I tell my family that if I make it through April without getting sick, I'll be excited.
Fuck, man! What they basically said that you're in high risk right now?
Yeah. I mean, they got you go to this supermarket and it's they got arrows on the floor to keep it one way and everything marked out 6 feet. There's these plexiglass dividers. I mean, it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy,
dude. It's the same in England with that supermarket, but obviously in prisons, I'm guessing it has to be a lot more different, because everyone's there.
I mean, they I guess this past month in March they released 700 inmates back out to society.
It's fucking crazy.
There were some certain criteria that they met that that it would make better sense to have them out on the outside in order so they could get care if they get sick.
So they have to go back in after the coronavirus is...
Depending on what their charges are and their sentence, yeah, man. I mean, they still got to go back. They still, these guys, they still have sentences to finish. It just makes better sense for the Department of Correction to have them on the outside because we wouldn't be able to... Basically, they would end up getting... If they got sick and they got to that point, we would end up taking them to the hospital anyway.
Yeah.
But then that would require 2 officers to be at the hospital with them at all times because they are an inmate. So I mean, it would be a big. Now you times that by say 200 inmates get sick, and have to require hospitalization. That's 400 officers that have to be there.
For sure.
Theoretically. I mean that's a big strain, so they, I mean, I'm not, this is unprecedented times, man. So, I mean, I'm not against it, just people have to understand that, these guys still have to, maybe some of them do get released early. Maybe they do, but even still 700, if you release 350, still that 350 need to come back and finish their sentence.
Fuck, man.
That's just the reality of it at this point.
I don't know how they're going to police that, bro. Like, they're out the world, you know. They could do it.
Well, they have different, there's different programs, like different release. I don't even know how to explain it. Different release types, parole, probation. They have a couple different kinds. So I mean, they're they'll all be tracked.
Yes.
So it'll, when this is over and it's deemed safe, these different specialty units inside Department of Correction will go and bring them back into the facilities.
Sure.
And then we'll just keep going from there.
For sure. So, bro, I wanted to get you on the show because obviously you're an incredibly experienced jiu-jitsu artist. You're a black belt. It's very rare to actually speak to a black belt. So I'm excited to have you on the show, bro.
Cool, thank you.
I just want to kind of break down your journey from when you first began to where you are now, and what you plan to do in the future.
Well, I started training. Let's see, what is it? 2020, about 2003, 2004, around there. But I started training in mixed martial arts first. Myself and my friend Eric both got into MMA back before anybody knew what MMA really was.
Yeah.
Especially where we live. Back then we fought for Team Dog Pound, and there was Team Savage and Team Strike Zone, and those were the only three what were deemed no holds barred NHB teams in Connecticut at that time. But you could train in Connecticut, but you couldn't have fights. Right. So it was illegal to have a sanctioned fight. So we would fight in Massachusetts, just north of Boston, in a town called Revere, Mass. There was a club called Lido.
So that was MMA. Yeah, there was pretty much there's rules, but compared to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, there were rules. I mean, the venue that you were fighting under, they had specific rules. There were certain things you couldn't do, like small joint, obviously eye gouging, groin strikes, right. Depending which venue, what a grounded fighter, you couldn't, kick a grounded fighter, meaning being on your knees or any of that. What else? So yeah, I had 2 pro fights. First fight, got called. I got hit in the face, went down to a knee, popped right back up. Ref called the fight.
Right.
So that kind of sucked. But I was really nervous.
That was the first part.
That was the first one. Yeah, that was the first one. That was pretty nerve-wracking. The second fight, I fought a guy from Brazil, and he ended up kneeing me in the face and like shattering one of the sinuses in my face. He didn't break my nose, but he shattered the sinus on the right side of my face. So like I have 3 teeth on the right side of my face. The first front 3 teeth have been numb for 13 and a half. It'll be going on 14 years. They've been numb because I've never gotten it fixed. Because at this point, I mean, they'd have to cut my face open and put metal and like redo my face, and I don't want that at this point. So,
fuck, man.
So
was it at that point, your second fight, you kind of thought, I'm going to move to jiu-jitsu, or?
Well, no, I got hired. That was October of 2006. And I got hired by Department of Correction in December of 2006. Because when I started the process for Department of Correction to become a correction officer, that was like, I think probably started that process in maybe March of 2006, and then ended up getting hired in December. So, I mean, if you're going to be an MMA fighter, you're going to be an MMA fighter. You're not going to be a correction officer as well. Especially like in the department where I work, like if you're a low man, you get mandated to, the next shift, so you might get held to work 16 hours every other day for 5 days. I mean, you're not really going to train much. Something's going to fail. And,
yes.
When you work inside a prison, that can't be what fails.
So at the point, 2006, sort of, you were planning on becoming a professional MMA fighter?
No. After I got kneed in the face like that, I played rugby in college. And rugby was really, really fun. Loved rugby. If I had a regular job, I'd probably still be playing. But my body's not built for rugby anymore. It's been so long. It's not. One of my good buddies still plays rugby. He coaches. He does MMA, or not MMA. He does Jiu Jitsu, coaches rugby. Doesn't play anymore, but was playing still. He played for like 20 years. But I would. That hurts just thinking about trying to play rugby right now. I get too hurt. But I loved it when I played.
Yeah.
Almost broke my neck playing rugby in college. Sprained every ligament in my neck. I had to wear a neck brace for 2 weeks. That sucked.
Dude.
That was scary. That was scary on the same level as when I got kneed in the face in that last MMA fight. Because I'd never been hit like that before, even in rugby. Well, it was like kind of see, what happened was I had this guy on his back, and because back then we fought in a boxing ring, not a cage. If it was a cage, my fist probably would have slid down the cage and still made contact with his face, and maybe I would have been able to, who knows? Yeah. My buddy, one of my boys was sitting like right in the first row, and he's like, "Dude, you went to punch him," because I had him in side control, and I went to punch him, and my arm went through the rope, and then caught right in the bottom rope, like right in the crook of my elbow, so my fist stopped. My buddy's like, "Your fist stopped like 2 inches above his face."
Fuck, man, yeah.
And he's like, "If you would have saw his face, dude, it was like," and it stopped. It was like a movie. It stopped right there. And then they ended up starting us back standing because my arm, I was outside the ring. And then we start back standing, and then we just went to town. Like, it was went to town. And then this knee, I guess, was actually illegal because there was no knees to the head. But he kneed me to my head. But they had to call the fight because there was like a flash knockout. Next thing I remember us throwing fists, and then there was a flash, and then a doctor was trying to put my nose back in, and he said I had to go to the hospital, and I was like, yeah, fuck that shit. I remember I got the worst black eye ever, and then if we were in person, it'd be much easier to show, but there's a very definitive part of my face, a patch of my face that was numb for 6 months after that, and then slowly it all went back to feeling, but now I can't feel the first 3 teeth to the right side of my face. I can't feel those. The dentist thought I was gonna lose them. They were gonna fall out and all that.
Yeah,
they didn't.
Well, at the time, I bet you thought you were gonna lose your teeth, right? You're like, they're gone
for a period of time, yeah. But I mean, also don't forget when all that stuff was still going on. Like I had just gotten hired. My face was busted still, dude, and I just started the Academy for Department of Corrections.
Fuck, dude.
Basically 2 months later.
Fuck, man.
My face was still healing. The shit was still all fucked up.
So
my nose, it makes a J. It makes a J.
I bet you have you have problems breathing, right, through your nose?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. It's actually kind of funny. I think my wife's been working at home now for a month because we've been on quarantine for a month now. Or at least my wife has. Nothing's changed for me except for the fact that I haven't gone to a gym and I haven't rolled in a month, which is it's starting to get a little irksome.
Dude, tell me about it, yeah.
Body doesn't hurt anymore because all the injuries have healed themselves, but it's starting to get a little, I want to get on a mat.
So what have you been doing in the meantime? Obviously, without having mats, what have you been able to do?
I got mats right here in my basement from when I own my own gym. I had 66 puzzle mats that made up the floor. I ended up selling all of them except for I have 19 mats left, so I kept them, and I have 9 set up in my little.
So what, you just been doing solo drills or have you got a dummy or anything like that? More
stretching and stuff, more just push-ups, sit-ups, air squats, just maintaining, solo drills, more just movement. Because I read a lot, so in between reading and, burning a bowl every now and again, get over here and do some stretching, and then I've been getting into the forest with my boys and getting in some miles. The only problem is everybody's going into the woods now.
How would you mean by that?
nobody, because everything's closed. So everybody, instead of going to the gym and going to do whatever everything else they'd be doing, everybody's going into the forest to go hike trails and stuff.
Yeah.
And that sucks because normally nobody's in the forest. And I always go.
Okay.
I like that's my main conditioning for jiu-jitsu is just putting my ruck on with some beers in it and just go putting in like 15 miles.
Yeah.
That's my
just
main.
hiking?
Yep, hiking.
Yeah.
There's some pretty good trails around here in Connecticut where I live.
Nice, man. I'd love to come. I'd love to see them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you and Sam are more than welcome to come by and hang out.
That'd be wicked, bro.
You guys
that'd be
got
so
a place
cool.
to stay. You guys got a place to sleep, a place to stay. I mean, I can manipulate my work schedule where I can take 2 weeks off at a time without a problem.
So there's just loads of mountains around where you are? What other activities are there in Connecticut?
I mean, besides jiu-jitsu, I mean, plenty of bars, going out, having drinks. Once this all clears up, I mean, once it's nice out in the summertime, I'll have you guys come in like July. We'll go to the beach. We'll go out to Rhode Island, go visit Jen's friend out in Newport, Rhode Island is really fun. We could go down and take a train to the city and go spend a day in Manhattan.
Sounds sick, bro.
That's like an hour and 45-minute train ride.
It's funny because where me and Sam are in Lincoln, it's quite unusual to do jiu-jitsu, but it sounds like where you are in Connecticut, a lot of people do jiu-jitsu. Like,
it's everywhere. I could take you to a different gym every single day.
Fuck,
I mean, we could go out to New Hampshire and train. I mean, we could go wherever you want. We could go take a ride to Virginia and train with my boy in Virginia. Yeah. We can go to Philadelphia, train in Philadelphia. I mean, we could spend the whole time just in Connecticut and train. I mean, I know I've been training long enough now, going on almost 18 years, that I know more than enough people that have been black belts for a long time. Because for me, it'll be 6 years in July that I've been a black belt.
6 years.
And, I got, a bunch of my buddies are coming up around their third stripes now. There's more than enough places for us to go train. I mean, there's breweries. We can go just go one day, just drive around and go get beers at different breweries. We can go up to the vineyards up in the northwest corner. Me and Jen can take you guys up to the northwest corner in Connecticut, which feels like you're in Vermont. Go up to some really nice vineyards up there. Get some wine. I mean, there's plenty of good stuff to do around here besides BJJ.
It's weird. It's weird how it's so popular in Connecticut, but in Lincoln there's only one academy, and that's Sam's. Like, do you think it was? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just
It's been here for a while.
Yeah.
It's been here for a while. I mean, jiu-jitsu's been in Connecticut since the late 90s that I know of. Someplace, Danbury, Connecticut has, to my knowledge, the highest concentration of Brazilians in the world outside of Brazil itself. There's a lot of Brazilians that live in Danbury, Connecticut. And my teacher, Marcio Stambowski, lives in Norwalk. And he's been, I think he came here in the early 2000s. But I know jiu-jitsu's been here since before that. And plus, I mean, you got to understand, too, wrestling's big, in the tri-state area. And it's getting much, much bigger in Connecticut, youth wrestling. So a lot of guys that wrestled in high school that didn't go on, judo's really big too. So you're going to, a lot of karate. See, there's avenues to find jiu-jitsu here early. Now it's funny because like me and my buddy Eric and my buddy Frank and some other guys that are still training and still fighting, like we were the original like MMA guys in Connecticut. And then a lot of guys that I am doing jiu-jitsu with now that I've been friends with for, going on double-digit years at this point, a lot of these guys were some of the original jiu-jitsu guys in Connecticut, but we didn't know each other at that time. I had no clue really about jiu-jitsu in Connecticut until I got out of MMA and started looking for jiu-jitsu places to train. Because I'd been doing no-gi jiu-jitsu for 4 years, doing MMA, and I was good at it. I was really good at no-gi. And then when I got a gi on and started training, because I came up under a Brazilian named Martin. And then when I put a gi on for the first time and started training with a Brazilian dude, I got smoked. Holy Christ, man. I got crushed. Like my years coming up in jiu-jitsu. You trained without the belt system at all, really. You kind of just did it from, just grappling. Yeah, there was no belts in MMA.
Yeah, you just did it for fun, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we were training to fight, and there was no belts. but I knew I was good at. I knew I was really good at no-gi because I've been training it for 4 years. Because we would train. Our trainings for MMA would be no-gi jiu-jitsu. We would train Muay Thai. We would train boxing. We had a world, what was it? Luigi, I think was his name, a world champion. He owned a package store down the street and from the gym, and he was a world champion boxer from Italy. This guy I believe his name was Luigi, I believe was his name. So he was our boxing coach. So, we would do all of those individual things, and then we would train MMA where we would beat the crap out of each other. I have to give a lot of the way that I'm training now in jiu-jitsu, and the reason why I train the way that I train is, me and my buddy Eric would be in our apartment watching the movie Choke back in the day, just grinding.
It's a great documentary.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got it on DVD still. It's sitting right in front of me, just grinding spoons up and down our forearms and our shins for hours, like we did. That's, we were balls in, we were drinking the Kool-Aid. And, when I went away from MMA and got into jiu-jitsu and started training in a gi and started doing the belts, I progressed.
I was going to say, I bet you've progressed really fast. Well,
I started training basically just jiu-jitsu in 2007. And it took me, I got promoted to black belt in July of 2014. So it took me 7 years to get my black belt.
Right.
So, I went pretty quick.
By the way, that's the quickest I've heard someone do it. But obviously, without you had the background and you knew all the fundamentals.
Yeah,
right?
I can't describe. I can't throw away the 4 years at MMA.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I went from white belt to blue belt rather quickly, and then from, the only belt that I had 4 stripes in was brown. I got 4 stripes in brown. All the other ones was, I think, white belt, I had 2 stripes, and I was promoted to blue. Blue belt, I think I had 3 stripes. I was promoted to purple. Purple, I had, 2 stripes, was promoted to brown. And then brown belt, my teacher, he originally wanted to promote me at 2 stripes to black belt. I don't know if I would have been comfortable with that. That would have been that would have been fast. That would have been 6 years. And mind you, even at black belt now, I get smoked by dudes still. That was just my timeline. That doesn't necessarily reflect ability or skill, because I've been humbled. I still get humbled.
which was the longest? What was the longest belt?
It would have been brown belt, because it was. Before black belt.
Yeah.
I would have been brown because I got 4 stripes at brown belt, so that was a full 2 years at brown.
2 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah, full 2 years. 6. If you go IBJJF, ideology, 6 months per stripe. At the discretion of the instructor. But it was 6 months, and then 2 years, and then it was July 19th, 2014. I got promoted to black belt. Yeah. It'll be 6 years in July.
Congratulations, bro. That's awesome. So
because when I met Sam, I was a brown belt when I met Sam.
Right. Tell me your story behind you and Sam meeting, because obviously I met you from Instagram. I don't know
Ryan. You know Ryan as well.
Ryan. I probably know his face, bro. But yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Crap. What's Ryan's last name? Ryan Maxwell, brown belt. He did a lot of the traveling with Sam when Sam was really heavy into the Globetrotter stuff.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed it at all, really, to be honest, man.
I was a brown belt. This is 2013. My buddy Eric discovered the book, the BJJ Globetrotter. He read it, and then he's like, "Dude, you gotta read this," because I'd gone.
So it's a book. It's a book, is it? I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of this book. Yeah,
yes.
Right.
Christian Graugart wrote a book called The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Globetrotter about his trip around the world in 2011, just basically using the community of jiu-jitsu to travel around the world and train.
So cool. That's so cool,
and
man.
So that's what he did, and he wrote a book about it. My buddy Eric found the book, and he's like, "Yo, you got to read this book. This is, he's like, this is you."
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing anything serious then. I'd gone to Las Vegas and competed. had been competing a lot in IBJJF tournaments around here because you got Boston Open, New York Open. I went up to Montreal 3 or 4 times to compete. I got a funny story about Montreal too. The last time I went up there, which we'll share after this.
Please do, man. Yeah.
And so I read the book. Whatever, it was a great book. Really, really. I mean, I would say inspirational because it was kind of like how I wanted to do jiu-jitsu. I wanted to go see the world via BJJ. And
nice, bros. I've never heard of this book, bro. After this podcast, I'm getting straight on that.
I mean,
man.
He has an ebook and all that. If you go on his website, the Globetrotter.com, and if you buy anything, there's an ebook and all that stuff, so you don't have to buy the physical book. I mean, I have the physical book because I was actually supposed to be in Mexico on the 16th of this month teaching in camp.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not going down. And that's the book that I travel with when I travel. That's the only book I bring and read because that's just the books that I travel with.
Yeah.
So Eric finds him on Facebook. I find, friend him, whatever. Then he finds out he's doing this camp. So Eric's like, yo, you got to go to this camp. So I was like, all right. So I went to Stockholm, Sweden the week before. I tried to train, but just didn't, it just didn't work out, time schedules and stuff. So I just tromped around Stockholm, Sweden for a week, getting drunk and having fun and,
nice.
Seeing the city. I made friends with these 2 dudes and we hung out for like 2 days and just partied and took a train from there to Copenhagen. But prior to that, what I did was on the Facebook group, I had posted a message, whoever was staying at this particular hostel. I stayed at the Copenhagen downtown because I wanted to stay I found the closest hostel to the, central station right there in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to walk far. Because I had a big rucksack and everything. And so I and these guys, Sam and Ryan, they responded and was like, yeah, we're staying there. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, let's meet up the first day.
Nice.
And
how long were you planning on staying for?
I stayed the whole camp.
How long was that?
Like a week.
A week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, so 7 days I was in Copenhagen.
Oh, 1 week. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first day there, I walked from the Copenhagen all the way to the training, and that was like 2.5 miles. And I was like, yeah, I won't do that again. So I met Sam and Ryan at the training.
Yeah.
At the Christian's Gym CSA.DK, which he doesn't train there anymore. He lives in St. Bart's now, and just runs the Globetrotters. But him and this guy named Karsten owned that gym, and that's where he had the camp. So at this time, I was a brown belt. I met Sam and Ryan. We went back to the hostel that night and just hung out and whatever. And then we started. Us 3 basically were together for the whole camp, the rest of the camp. Like we just traveled back and forth from the hostel to the camp, and then we'd go back, and then everybody would meet up, and we'd go somewhere, and we'd get beers, and
dude,
it was great.
That sounds fun, man.
It was so much fun. So, like halfway through the camp.
So you literally like jiu-jitsu from what time?
Oh, all day.
Oh, so literally 10 hours a day. Fuck, man.
Oh yeah.
Fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were training. And the thing about this camp, which was that time. I don't even know. I think Ryan and Sam might have been white belts at that time, or they might have been blue belts. I'm not sure. Besides myself, like I think Johnny Grippo, who was an instructor, was a brown belt. Christian, I think, had just gotten his black belt at that time. And there was one other brown belt, or 2 others, to my recollection, if I remember right. So, everybody, like I always have a strict rule, like when I go visit places, like I don't ever try and crush anybody. And it didn't matter what belt I was. I would always just, I would let people crush me. I'm not going to go into a foreign gym and, roll with like one of my students back home, because you just don't do that,
Yeah.
So I was getting beat on pretty heavy. I was just letting dudes like beat on me heavy for like 2 days. And I remember like,
why was that then?
What's that?
Why did you let them just?
Because they were all the camp, like there was like 2 purple belts, like 3 brown belts, and then everybody else was like white and blue.
Oh, okay.
And, you know,
so there's
I was
a big difference in
ass guys, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not what the camp is about in my mind either. You know, my mind,
Sure.
the camp is about learning. It's about meeting people. And so I was getting my butt kicked for a while because I was just taking beatings. And then I remember I was doing no-gi with this kid, and we were sitting the way Christian's gym was at that time. He had 3 mat spaces. The third space farthest from the entrance was a ring. Then it was a mat, and then another mat, and then it was like a chain link fence that separated it. So,
Yeah.
So his girlfriend was sitting on a bean bag, and we were doing no-gi, and we were rolling, and I was just, you know, whatever, standing, and he like kicked me in my gut hard. And mind you, like in 2012, I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease, so this was like the first big trip I went on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I was still figuring out my belly and stuff, and still kind of guarded with it. And he kicked me, and it like kind of just set off an alarm in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, fuck this. I'm not rolling knife anymore.
Oh, dude.
And then like in the next like 5 minutes of that round, I just submitted the kid like 10 times. And then after that, I said, screw it, I'm just rolling with people now. And the kid never talked to me again after that. He was all like butt hurt. And, but that's what I do. Like normally, like, you know, because that morning that was my first roll. Because that morning, like I felt like that Tuesday night, I felt my skin just getting really hot. You know, my whole body was just like on fire because it was just all inflamed from just taking a beating, from doing open mat, drilling. You know, just that repetitive cycle of open mat drilling, open mat drilling, open mat drilling.
For sure.
And it just so now, that I don't want to bounce everywhere. But so I took that morning off, and then that was my first training, and then that kid kicked me in my gut, and then I was like, all right, screw this. And then that night, I think Christian messaged me and told me that this kid, Daniel Reed, who was one of the instructors, he was a purple belt there. He got sick and couldn't, you know, and so Christian asked me if I would cover his classes.
Yeah.
So I covered his classes, and I did a gi class and a no gi class, and that's how it started, man. From that point forward, Christian, later on that week, at the end of the week, he asked me, you know, he's like, I got a lot of positive feedback from your class. He's like, would you want to do this? I was like, what, teach class with these camps? He's like, yeah, man. I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, bro.
Absolutely. And then that's pretty much how I met Sam and Ryan. And, you know, Sam has come and stayed with me for a couple of weeks. At the first USA camp, Sam was with me for 2 weeks. We stayed, he was here.
Oh, dope. Yeah. When did he, was that after Sweden? After you went to Sweden, you met Sweden, and then you went to America afterwards.
Yeah, I did Sweden, then Copenhagen. So that was like a 20-day trip, and then went back home. And then my next camp, I think because I've done 8 camps. I think it was I don't know if it was it was a Copenhagen camp, I believe, the distortion camp. That camp was, that was crazy. The distortion camp?
Yeah.
That Globetrotter camp, that was nuts.
Why?
That was because the Wednesday of the camp, it was like their Independence Day week.
Yeah.
So at 4:00 that day, like the entire city of Copenhagen just dumped out into the street, and it was nothing but just street parties from like 4:00 in the afternoon to like 6 in the morning.
Holy shit.
So it was me, Sam, Ryan, this dude Gareth, this kid Ben, this kid Axel, Scott. Who else? We were all, and there's this one dude from Iceland, the older guy, but he kind of just did his own thing. We were all in one hostel. And then I remember there was always 2 beds empty in this hostel, and they kept putting 2 random people in those beds. And mind you, there's just geese hanging up this room stunk. It stunk. There's just wet geese hanging up everywhere, dude. Like,
you didn't wash them for like a whole week.
Oh, but you know, we're in a hostel, so you get them back and they'd still be damp, so you hang them up.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like 8 dudes in there doing jiu-jitsu, and then 2 open beds, and like nobody actually stayed in those beds for longer than 24 hours. They would leave. We'd come back at like 8, and we come back at like 4 or 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
just loud as shit. Get up at 8 and then go back to the training and go train all day and then go out till 6 in the morning the next night. And then,
dude,
discoursing
that sounds
was
fucking
no joke.
fun though. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Is it like that everywhere, every camp? Pretty much.
You can make it like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But this specific one was that.
Yeah. Right.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, some of the camps, that I've done, the USA camp, like the USA camp is great, the one in Maine, because like you're literally at a campsite. Like you're staying in a cabin. Like you go down and you have a fire every night. Like you're in the forest.
Yeah.
So I mean, some people stay up pretty late and get drunk, but when you're at
which camp is that?
That's the USA camp in Maine.
Okay, in Maine, right?
Yeah. The first one that the first time Sam came and stayed with me, that was a camp. The first USA camp, that was in New Hampshire.
Right.
That was a good one. That was fun. Those two were fun. They were all fun.
You've done a lot of traveling with jiu-jitsu and stuff. Where would you say is the best? What would you say is the best place you've been for?
The best place that I've been is the place that I should have been going in April, which was Puerto Escondido, Mexico, the BJJ in Paradise camp. I would highly suggest you guys take the trip over from England and come travel down to that with me. I'd say next year if you can. I highly suggest it. It's the best trip. It's out of all the camps that I've done so far, and all the places that I've traveled for jiu-jitsu, it's the best.
Why is that the best then?
It's just the atmosphere, the people, just everything about it.
Right.
I mean, you step off the plane in Puerto Escondido, Mexico, and like you just forget what day it is. You get to the hotel and you put your stuff away, go down, get yourself a drink. You're so close to the waves, like you can feel the percussion of the waves. I mean, it's a surfer village, so it's like super just laid back, and there's just bars all down the street. The food is great. It's great. It's great.
I'm surprised you said Mexico. I'd have thought you'd say somewhere like Brazil.
I've never been to Brazil. I've never really had a desire to go there, just because I don't really want to worry about my safety that much.
Shit, right.
And if you're going to go to Brazil,
especially Rio, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go to Brazil and get and I could be completely off base with it, but to my knowledge, you need to go down there with, someone from Brazil. So if Marcio ever held a camp in Rio, I would go there because I would be with, Marcio and, other Brazilians. But would I just go there myself? Probably not. There's a lot of other places I'd rather go.
Yeah.
I'd rather come up to Lincoln and visit Sam and come hang out there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, right.
I mean, when this stuff all calms down, I mean, that's going to happen.
It's funny. We were meant to be having the podcast in, at the proper podcast room, but obviously it's either not going to work out because of the coronavirus, or it's just a long flight for you. So this is perfect, actually. We've both got time.
Yeah. I mean, I got nothing but time. I don't have to go to work till tomorrow, so.
Yeah, for sure, bro. So
only thing I got to do after this is go buy groceries.
What time is it where you are?
What's that?
What time is it where you are now?
Let me see. It's almost 3.
Yeah.
It's almost
it's 7:45 here, so.
Yeah,
cool,
it's almost.
Yeah.
Dude, my wife still got another hour of work left. She's upstairs working.
So that's for me, because I've started off only in January, so I'm kind of interviewing people, getting a podcast together, like obviously video and Sam sort of thing.
You just started jiu-jitsu in January?
Yeah, dude. So
nice.
I'm super new to it all. I've just fell in love with it, really. So like, it's getting talk to people like you that have had the experience, decades of experience. It's like a pleasure,
Yeah, man. It's cool to find somebody who's so pumped about it so quick. I mean, Sam, you've gone to the right spot. Sam's a very good instructor.
For
He's
sure.
Very, very, very technical.
Extremely good at explaining stuff, man.
Yes, very, 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 very.
So like,
me and Sam have, we've known each other for a long period of time now. I mean, since 2013, 7 years, but, basically just because of geographic issues, him being in England, me being in the United States. I mean, we've only spent like maybe 6 weeks together, you
Yeah.
know, but we've trained a lot in those 6 weeks together. You know what I mean? There's been
Sure.
a lot of training condensed into those 6 weeks. So especially Sam, him and Ryan, you know, they're very, very, very technical guys. They're very, you
Yeah.
know, they break down technique a lot, you know, and that's good for somebody who's brand new because, you know, they're going to be able to cover a lot of questions.
100%, bro. And the
You know?
and the details as well. He really tries to, you know, explain the details fully. I feel like that.
Yeah.
When you learn jiu-jitsu, they're learning the fundamentals when you're a white belt is really important, isn't it?
Oh, that's. I mean,
Everything.
I can honestly say I probably didn't even attempt really to submit people until I was purple.
Right.
You know?
Fuck.
Not really like, you know, not really stringing together submissions, you know. I was all defense, man. A lot of defense because, you know, I came up under Brazilians.
Right.
And, you know, now guys are coming up under guys like me who are American, but coming up under Brazilian was different. You know, it was.
That's interesting. Well, so they were so attackive. You felt like you needed to kind of be defensive straight away.
You know, and my defense is very good.
Right.
You know, do I still get submitted? Absolutely. Is it my mistake? Absolutely.
Right.
You know, is it somebody else's ability? Absolutely. You know, submissions are 50-50. You know, it's you making a mistake and your opponent's or your training partner's ability to recognize your mistake. But also, you know, applying their technique too at the same time. You know, their ability to apply technique can also lead you into a position where you do make that mistake as well. And that's where we want to get to. You know, I want to get to the point where I force you down a path. And now, after doing it for so long, I can do that pretty simply.
Yes. So, your advice for me then really is to work on your defense. You wouldn't be thinking about going into the tackle, or do you think it's important to have both aspects of the game where you need to have them?
I mean, you've been training since January. So, I mean, let's see, January, February, March. You got 3 months in you right now.
Yeah.
My advice to you, dude, is just have fun. Don't even worry about anything. Don't worry about defense. Don't worry about attacking. Just go out there, learn how to shrimp.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Get extremely good at shrimping because that teaches you hip movement. And hip movement is jiu-jitsu. You know, I need to be able to move my hips aggressively, dynamically, eccentrically, concentrically, in XYZ axes, and then those, you know, I need to be able to move my hips in a sphere of movement. And shrimping is going to teach you a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole point of jiu-jitsu is to control your hips and to get your hips away from me and for me to get my hips away from you and for you to control my hips. You know, if you can't control my hips, it's going to be difficult for you to submit me. Or to not submit me, to just even, you know, position before submission. You know, those things are very important. That's very, very, very important. Saying that's something you should really get in your mind first, position before submission. Super important. But shrimp, I mean, and just have fun, man. I mean, you know, if you're not laughing and smiling, what's the point? I mean,
dude, for sure, yeah.
You know, and
that's right. A lot of the people that we've seen come to the classics, Sam did like a free trial week, and a lot of people turned up for the week and then kind of said, I don't know if it's for me, but a lot of it's just, you know, you're not going to enjoy every single role or every night, are you? So it's like you've got to stick to it to a certain extent, like maybe even 3 months, 6 months. Just say that you're going to turn up.
I would tell somebody, if you really want to see, give yourself a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what the you know, the big saying is, I guess, what 90% of people that quit at blue belt, right?
Right.
And then the other saying is, you know, once you get promoted to purple, as long as you don't quit or die or anything of that nature, you're pretty much going to get to black belt. And those things I both find to be true. You know, I mean, 90% of people at blue quit because, you know, you're a blue belt. Yeah, you can beat up a good majority of people, the white belts, but you're going to get smoked by a vast majority of guys. You know, you could be a brand new blue belt and get smoked by a 4-stripe blue belt and feel like you don't know shit. Because you know, depending on the school and the gym where you're at, you know, depending on the the intensity of training and that the focus of the training, if it's a competition gym or if it's just a gym that's, for the art. The difference in levels in jiu-jitsu just within belts is immense. So just a year, man, give it a try, give
it a year.
Let yourself be sore before you quit, that's my thing. But then there's also the thing is like, the guys who get to blue belt, those guys want to be there, You get to purple belt, those people want to be there. They're understanding, they're making it a lifestyle, because jiu-jitsu at some point, you got to make it a lifestyle. If you really want to get what it's about, which isn't arm bars, it's not about chokes, it's not about throws, it's about mental health. In the last going about 18 years, jiu-jitsu the mat's always been there for me. Throughout all the things that have happened in life, all the things that have happened in work, unfortunately now, dealing with the stresses of having a pandemic going on, having a mat would be an amazing thing to have, because it'd be a great positive release
of energy,
for energy and work and, for worry and stress. But unfortunately we can't be around each other. That's what it's about. The mat's about releasing negative energy in a very positive manner, and learning how to, break an arm here and there on the way. But also having fun too. You need to be laughing, you need to be smiling, but also too, like you said, you made the comment, not every training is going to be a fun one. I've trained with rather large human beings, and when they've gotten into certain positions, that was not fun. I don't really care what anybody says. Okay, it's not fun. It's not. It's when you have the triple weave embedded in your face, you get gi burn on your face, like it's not fun,
But there's got to be times in your journey where you thought, I can't be arsed anymore. Is there any ways that you kind of motivated yourself, pick yourself back up?
If I ever found that I started,
I can't be asked to go to a class tonight or something like that.
What's that?
If you've just thought to yourself, I can't be fucked to go to a class tonight.
There's been plenty of days where I've taken days off. The thing about being a black belt now, and especially being an instructor, because I was teaching jiu-jitsu when I was a blue belt, but nothing like now. I started really teaching when I was a purple belt, but really as a black belt, you really don't have a day, because it's not about you anymore as a black belt. It's about your students, so I don't really have days off. The only time I'll take days off is if I am sick, or if my body's just like, all right, you need to just chill. And being 39, you got to kind of listen to your body a little bit more now. But when I was coming up, there'd be plenty of times where I would take 2-3 weeks off from the mat. Plenty of times, because there's going to be plenty of peaks where you're just like, man, I can tap out the wind right now. There's nobody can get away from me. And then there's other days where you're like, you got 2 left feet and you can't get out of your own way. When you're in those deep valleys, man, those are the important parts of jiu-jitsu. You string enough of those deep valleys together. Now we're learning what it's about. But I would also take time off too, because, there'd be plenty of times where I'd be like, man, in a 5-day stretch, because when I first started in my career in corrections, I worked second shift and I was only seeing my instructor once every other week. So I didn't like that. So I transferred to third shift. So I would work midnight. I would work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. so I could train every single day.
Nice. And
I've been doing third shift now for, more or less my whole career, except for right now I'm back on second. That's just so I can train every single day.
What time would you sleep till?
I would get out at my old facility. I would get out at 8 a.m. I'd be in bed. I'd read probably till 9. I'd sleep from 9 to 2:30. 3 sometimes, and then I'd be up from 3 to whenever I went to work, and then I'd do hour and a half, 2 hours conditioning, 2 hours of jiu-jitsu every single day.
Fuck yeah!
And
you said go on, before you go into that, you said to make it a lifestyle, you have to basically do it pretty much every day. Do you think?
No, you don't have. That was me. That's what I did.
Oh, it's you, right?
That's the level I took it to. You know, I moved my work schedule because I could to midnights so I could train jiu-jitsu every day. So I would train 2 hours every day jiu-jitsu. On my days off, probably, there's days off even now, I'll train 3 times a day.
Right.
You know, 2 hours at a clip. And then I would do 2 hours of conditioning every day. I mean, and that was just me. But if you want to get something out of it, you need to be training a minimum 4 days a week, for sure.
4 days, right.
Absolutely. You know, but my point was, you know, if you're training 5 days a week, or in my case, 7 days or 6 days, you know, by that 6th day, I mean, how much technique have you retained?
Right.
You know, so it can get overwhelming. You know, you could be like, well, I'm never going to be able to remember this technique. I'm never going to be able to string together techniques. I'm never going to be like my black belt. I mean, you know, I started training MMA, you know, a black belt, you know, doing a podcast with you about my journey was never even on the forefront. That wasn't even an idea, you know, that was never even a blip on the map, you know.
Yeah.
It was surviving the next drill.
For sure. Right.
You know, it was surviving the next. We used to train 4 to 6 hours a day. You know what I mean? So back then, I mean, and it was, you know, it wasn't, you know, we were beating the shit out of each other. You know, so it was surviving training. That's what that was. Now, you know, with the experience, you train differently. So what I used to do when I first started jiu-jitsu, strictly gi jiu-jitsu specifically, was I would work third shift on a sheet of paper. I would write down everything I could remember from that night's class. Everything.
Right.
Technique, every little detail I could remember. I would write it down. And then before I went home, before I went to sleep, I would type it. And then what would happen was as I was rereading everything that I wrote down, I would start remembering other detail from class, and I'd be able to add that in. And then what would happen, I mean, I did that from white all the way to purple. Once I got to brown belt, I stopped doing that because now I'm at the point where, like when I go to camps, if I don't partake in the class, I'll sit and watch. So I'm at the point now where I can watch technique and just immediately recreate it, unless it's just on a whole nother spectrum that I don't even have any clue about. And then at that point I have to drill it. But
there comes a certain stage, I've noticed, Sam, when he's drilling, it's almost instinctual now. Instinctual.
That's what I'm trying to get, man. You know,
I watch him sparring, bro, and some of the time he doesn't even think about what he's doing; he just does it naturally.
Yeah, at brown belt, where he's at brown belt, it should be that way.
Yeah.
You know, with the amount of time and the amount of hours he's had on the mat and the amount of training partners he's had and the amount of different mats he's trained on, he should be like that. And that's where you'll be there. You'll be, as long as you don't quit.
Yeah, dude.
You will be there. I mean, it's just keep showing up. That's the simplest advice that I could give you, is have fun and just keep showing up.
Yeah.
And
love that.
You will be there. And like I was saying, you know, I would type all this stuff out, and I have like 170 pages of notes saved on a scan disk that I had until I got to the point where I could just like memorize stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so I still, and that helped me out a lot, you know, that helped me out a whole lot. And that helped me really, because listen, anything that I'm not remembering is obviously not important to me. So it would help me sift through technique that maybe didn't bite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of technique that I've learned that I have never even done. I'd probably say at this point, it's probably more technique that I've learned that I don't do than there is technique that I do.
Is that because, do you mean when you're sparring? Or?
Yeah, because I mean, I have a game now. You know?
Have a go-to, you have a strategy, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go do what I want to do unless, you know what I mean? I have my A, B, C, D in everywhere that I'm at. Right. You know? So I'm going to go do my A. If you are at the point and you're good enough that you're going to make me go A, B, C, and then I'm going to have to go D, E, F, well then good. That's the whole point, right? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the whole point. That's what I want.
Is this have you got to that stage where you can, when you're watching, you can literally read what people are trying to do? Yeah. Yeah. At this point, yeah. Even black belt, where you can see that they're going for the arm bar or, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fuck, man. Yeah. That's awesome. That helps when you're competing, I imagine, like massively, because
Of course.
you anticipate everything. You know, the arm movement, you can see, right, I'm gonna get, you know,
Yeah.
under the elbow.
You know, I mean, a lot of that's based on feel. So what I started doing when I was a brown belt, especially because I competed a lot when I was a brown belt, and I competed a lot my first like 2 years of black belt, until me and my wife got married, because then it was, you know, I had to plan for a wedding. Because I had to, you know, I was, you know, obviously working, I had my own gym at that time, and we were planning a wedding. So I mean, trying to compete and do all that other stuff, you know, I'm not trying to go get, you know, skull fucked at a tournament. Not trying to happen. But what I would do as a brown belt is I started rolling with my eyes closed, and that really calmed me down a lot. And because, you know, when you're taking in things visually, you can overwhelm yourself, especially with 3 months on the mat.
Yeah.
You know, because it's going to be like, let's go. Your brain, it's just a visual overload is just enormous. So if we can take that sense out, and then the only thing you can deal with is feel, well, you have to calm down. And you got to learn how to breathe. You got to learn how to react. You got to learn how to use science. You know, I try and tell my students, listen, you know, 'cause I have a background in sports medicine. So I tell my students, you need to have a little bit of an understanding of anatomy. You know, if I can understand that this joint can only go this far, I can use that to my advantage. You know, if I know that you're going this way, let me use the physics of it and just make you go that way. You know, now we start doing Jiu Jitsu, you know, the strength to Jiu Jitsu spectrum. You know, when you start out as a white belt, like you're 100% strength, 0% Jiu Jitsu. And then as you get closer to black belt, we start to get to, you know, we're never ever going to be 0% strength.
Yeah. I've noticed that actually when I've been rolling with you know, smaller dudes, I can physically rough them about, but I just find that their strategy completely, I just get exhausted because I'm just constantly trying to get them in.
And you'll figure that out. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's that. You know, I did the same thing when I first started. When I first started MMA, you know, because I started out first I wrestled in high school. You know, so when I got into MMA, like getting choked was. I remember when I started training MMA, my teacher at the time, this guy named Elias Rivera, he would make me start when we did what was called randori. And, you know, that was just sparring, you know. When we called it randori. And he would make me start with somebody in a rear naked choke on my back. So, I mean, because I would freak out so much when somebody got my neck, I would choke myself out. So eventually, over time of doing that, and then I got, you know, I developed up the confidence, and then, you know, once I got confidence in my defense and my ability to survive in the position, then learned how to escape the position. You know, now it's getting choked. You know, somebody choking me out, it's pretty tough to choke me out now. But I mean, you know, that took a lot of just, you know, mental and just like, all right, suck it up. And then when I went from MMA to gi in training jiu-jitsu, you know, that was a whole nother world. Just getting tied up and smoked, and, you know, that cardio was a whole different kind of cardio than MMA was, you know, and then that was a whole nother learning curve, you know. So and you have to just embrace it all and just love it, you know, love it for what it is. And then becoming a black belt, you know, and competing at black belt, that's a whole nother, you know, learning curve that you have to eat, you know.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But it's all good, you know, because it's all for self improvement. You know, that's the whole point. You know,
and is that the reason why you kind of got into jiu-jitsu in the first place?
I have no idea, man.
Yeah.
You know, my buddy Eric's like, yo, you want to go do that UFC stuff that our buddy Frank was doing? That was the question that was asked. The next thing you know, we started training with him.
Yeah.
And then when I stopped training MMA, now that I was in corrections, you know, actually out of the academy, working inside a prison, you know, kind of realized that I can't I mean, I've gone to work with broken bones and torn ligaments and sprained ligaments and torn, popped out ribs and concussed. I mean, and that's just from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine what I would do if I was still doing MMA. But MMA, like, you can't do MMA for your whole life. I can do.
You can't,
jiu-jitsu
bro. Yeah.
This is about longevity. I want to do jiu-jitsu till the day I die.
Yeah.
So once I started getting into,
there's got to be only a certain amount of times that you can get your face pummeled like you're doing at UFC.
Yeah, and plus, like, once I got hit like that, it was that actually kind of fucked me up a little bit mentally for a while.
Yeah.
So it was tough getting back into the stand-up sparring portion of MMA. After that, but I didn't want to stop training.
Yeah.
So I continued training at the spot that I found. I'm not going to repeat the name of the school because I hate the owner.
Fair enough, bro. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a douchebag. He's got that reputation in Connecticut of just being a big old pile of crap. But anywho, I continued training Muay Thai there because I loved Muay Thai. And I think once I retire from corrections, I have nothing to do all day. I'm going to start training Muay Thai again. I was gonna ask if you do any other martial arts still now. Is it just jiu-jitsu that you train? Right now, yeah, man, just pretty much BJJ. But I did Aikido on and off for like 5 years. Yeah. When I was training MMA, I was doing Aikido at the same time. I loved Aikido. That was a really fun martial art. But it was at that time it was between training Aikido and preparing for MMA fights. So I was, I had to get ready for the MMA fights. Yeah. I did Muay Thai for like 5 years. I've done judo on and off. Judo is pretty good. Meant to be pretty good for enhancing your jiu-jitsu game. Obviously, absolutely. Absolutely. Your standing game. Yeah. Once this whole COVID-19 thing ceases to exist, I'm going to start going back out to Rhode Island and train at my buddy's school out there. They run a pretty high level Olympic feeder program for judo. Yeah. And they run jiu-jitsu. I go out there and teach jiu-jitsu probably. Before this, it was really like probably every other month I'd drive out there on a Saturday and teach. But once everything straightens out, I'm going to start training judo over there and eventually reach the level of black belt in judo as well. But like the MMA, the Aikido, Muay Thai, I've done knife fighting here and there, nothing crazy. I've done some stick fighting here and there, nothing crazy. Through corrections, I was certified as we call it behavior management instruction. So I was certified self-defense instructor. Have you ever had to use jiu-jitsu at work? Not one-on-one. My go-to mostly has been wrist locks. I've used a lot of wrist locks, a lot of wrist locks. I luckily have never fought one-on-one with an inmate yet. Inmates don't really mess with me too much because of, my face and, I got some good cauliflower ear going on. And, I've had inmates ask me what I know, as far as like, training. And I always tell them, listen, if you have to find out what I know, I didn't do my job. Yeah. Which means if I can't diffuse the situation verbally, and I have to go hands-on, well, maybe it just had to go that way. And that's just, there's been plenty of times where some verbal intervention just isn't going to work. We're fighting. It doesn't matter. Is it quite a rough prison, the one you're in? The one I'm in now, no. Where I'm at now is nice and relaxing. Right. It's a youth facility. There are they fight each other a lot. They listen to you. It's from where I came from. Where I came from was a war zone. And I was there because I got 13 and a half years in. I got 6 years left before I retire. So I'll be 45 years old when I'm done working 100%, can just teach jiu-jitsu and travel the world 100%. Is that what you want to do? Is that your dream? That's it, brother. Yeah. Go back to school, finish up my degree. Maybe, I'd like to maybe achieve the level of a doctorate in something just because I'm going to have all the time in the world, so why not? Yeah. And then just, my buddy Brad that owns the gym that I teach at, Brad Wolfson, He eventually wants to move down to Puerto Escondido. I mean, he bought land down there. He's going to build a house, a big house down there. And I think he kind of wants me to take over his gym. So if that ever happens, then I'll take over his gym. You know, there's guys there that can run the gym part. I'm just going to teach jujitsu.
Yeah.
You know? I want no part in the actual running of the gym. Just I want to teach. That's it.
Surfing, hiking, jiu-jitsu. It's fucking paradise, mate.
That's it. Living the dream. After the 20 years in corrections that I've done, I've dealt with, the things that I've seen and the toll that it's taken on me mentally. I believe I can say that I've earned that 100%. You know, because I mean, I've told you this whole disease that's going on right now. I've told my wife and, you know, my parents and my buddies and, you know, I mean, as for me, if I make it through April without getting sick, I'll be extremely thankful. But I don't really know if that's going to happen. And if I make it through May, without getting sick, I'll be of the mindset that it probably will not happen. But if I make it through April without getting sick, I'll be extremely, extremely thankful.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm not.
Just keep washing your hands, bro. That's all the advice they keep giving people, right? Is keep washing your hands. But at the end of the day, like if someone comes close to you, there's not much you can do, really. You know?
No, like after this, we're gonna go to the grocery store. I mean, that's like the most dangerous place you can go right now is the supermarket.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the Tesco. I mean, Tesco's are open. You know, people need food. You know, so, you know, but like I said, that it is what it is. You know, I mean, that's the job, and it is what it is. If I get sick, hopefully it's not too bad. And then after I retire, man, like, I can't wait. BJJ all day long.
That sounds fucking sweet, though. Yeah. Well, yeah. Listen, bro. I don't know if is there anything else you kind of wanted to bring up? I think we've pretty much we've covered majority of.
Talk about, man. I have nothing to do.
Yeah, man. Like, I kind of want to know from your point of view a bit more advice on like how to kind of, because I want to compete as soon as possible. Is it just purely time on the mat, or is it
to
kind
be
of
ready for competition specifically?
Mm.
I would tell you get 6 months on the mat. You know,
6 months. If
you were American and you had a wrestling background, I'd say go do it right now. Because you have that wrestling background. If you have a judo background, I tell you go compete right now with 3 months training. Because you have a background, so you're not you're not new.
Yeah.
But do you have any kind of background as far as martial arts goes or anything like that?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, give yourself 6 months, man. Listen, you know you're not going to be able to compete anytime soon anyway, just because of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
So, you know, my advice would be to condition.
Stretching.
Not just stretching. Sprinting, jogging, swimming, hiking.
Is it like explosive sort of cardio?
It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is everything. There is no training out there. You know, bodybuilding not going to really serve a point for jiu-jitsu.
No.
I still do bodybuilding movements, certain ones, but as far as weightlifting goes, now being 39, a lot of kettlebells, a lot of sandbags, a lot of plyometrics, barbell stuff is going to be more deadlifts, back squats, strict presses, a lot of pull-ups, you know, a lot of functional, because I was really big into CrossFit for a long time as well, too. So I have a background in all that, in that kind of stuff as well. So me and my buddy Nick that I train with a lot, a lot of timed movements, a lot of stuff I want to get myself to a point where I'm in my training, in my conditioning, where I have to, I'm going to either quit or I'm going to continue going. All right. Because this is going to simulate, if I come out to Lincoln after this is all over and I train with you guys, I'm going to get myself in a position on you where you're going to either quit or you're going to suck it up and you're going to figure out a way to create space and make yourself room to shrimp and get to a better position.
Right.
I'm not going to submit you. I'm
No.
going to put you in a position where you're either going to quit from pressure because I have you locked down so good, or you're going to sit there and you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to put myself in my conditioning. So that's what we do. And hiking is the same thing when I go hike. I got a 55-pound stack of bricks that's all taped up that'll go inside my rucksack, and that'll go with me.
So everything you do in terms of hiking or just weightlifting, you want to basically push yourself to your limit, like create adversity for yourself. Yeah.
Everything that I do off the mat is for the mat at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah. So like if the training doesn't make sense, or if it's not going to help me on the mat, it's not really going to be done.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed since I've started running, I started running like half marathons and stuff. And it's like
that's going to all help you. I mean, that's all going to help you.
The strength in my legs has just improved massively. I'm able to kind of, shrimp away so much more kind of fluidly,
Well, you carry your body weight over 13, over 13 miles, 13.3 miles, man. I mean, that's, there's a lot of strength, not just cardiovascular strength. There's a lot of physical strength that's also, required. The thing is, just make sure we don't, because there is a balance between conditioning and jiu-jitsu. You don't want to, if you're getting ready for a half marathon, we maybe want to lighten up on the sparring rounds in jiu-jitsu and maybe just drill more, because you're going to be putting a big stress on your body, getting miles in to prepare yourself for that. Yeah. So then when we're in between half marathons, maybe, we're lighting up on the running aspect, and then now we pick up on the sparring aspect.
Yeah.
You're still going to get a cardiovascular benefit from sparring. It's going to help you. It's going to help you in your half marathons for sure.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you, like, in terms of weightlifting and bodybuilding stuff, what's your opinion on growing your muscles?
Well, you want to do deadlifts, squats, strict press. I mean, if you're sitting there doing,
can it disadvantage you though? If you're big?
No, because that's why we stretch.
Right.
That's why you got to make sure you couple it correctly with stretching. Everything is going to be. It's all going to be jiu-jitsu, conditioning, stretching, lifting, foods. Rest. It's all circular. It's all going to feed off each other. So if you're squatting a lot and deadlifting a lot, but you also have to take it in, like, how am I squatting? Am I squatting to build? Am I squatting for certain kind of muscle fibers? I mean, if you throw 225 on a bar and you're busting out 20 reps, that's a lot of strength, but that's also a different kind of muscle fiber. We're not going to be building bulk, as opposed to, okay, I'm doing sets with, 405 doing 100 kilograms on there, or 200 kilograms, on there on a squat rack or deadlift, and doing that for 5 reps, versus doing something for 15 reps. You're still going to get a strength component, 15 reps, but it's going to be a different kind of strength. And that's where I'm at. That's what I want to do. A lot of pull-ups, a lot of body weight, because what are we moving when we do jiu-jitsu? We're moving our body weight.
Body weight, all body weight, right? Yeah. I
want to make sure my calisthenics, my plyometrics, push-ups, we do a lot of pull, a lot of sled stuff, pulling, pushing sleds, a lot of rope, battle ropes, a lot of that, pull-ups, anything where because anything like bounding and explosive, because jiu-jitsu, at least the way that I train now, like I jump over, I'll jump over my opponent, I mean, I'll hop on top of them, I mean, I hop a lot, when I'm rolling and training with my students. So I try and do stuff that's going to help me in that. But I also try and do a lot of flexibility, especially being 39. As you get older as a man, you definitely need to make sure you're stretching, because that's where you're going to run into pulled muscles,
injuries, right? Yeah. Have you
lack of flexibility?
So I think we talked a bit on Instagram about avoiding injuries and stuff. You said about stretching before and after is just pretty much so important.
Yeah, I mean, stretching before is going to be more of a dynamic kind of warm up. More like rolling around on the mat. Not so much static. Static stretching is going to be more something that I do after. Where you breathe through your stretching, and trying to get deep with your stretches, because that's when you're going to be as loose as anything, is when you stop, unless you wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes and then you cool down. And then in that case, I would probably do more of a dynamic stretch where you're actually moving through a range of motion. The flexibility is such a big part of jiu-jitsu. I mean, if you can splay your legs straight out, passing guard's going to be tough because you're always going to be able to retain your guard. So, I mean, that's another thing with you being brand new. Don't get down on yourself if you can't exactly do a move the way that Sam does it. Yeah. You might not be flexible enough to do that yet.
Yeah,
it might not even be ability or skill. It might just be a lack of flexibility.
He always says, watch what I do, not what I say, because a lot of the time he tries to explain, but actually, if you look what he does, going back to what I said earlier about him being instinctual and he does stuff like even the tiniest details. If he said every detail, he'll be there for
hours.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like one of the hardest things for me as an instructor, especially when I come out to teach camps. So when I teach at camps, like if I teach two classes, which is normally, that's the normal thing for instructors. You'll teach one gi, one no gi. I always teach the same thing. Yeah. I'll teach it gi and then I'll teach it no gi. I teach the exact same technique. And then, because I like to be like, all right, well, this is how we're going to do this gi. And then this is how we're going to do the exact same thing modified for no gi. If I sit there and try, because I'll sometimes it's easy to go down a rabbit hole and just start explaining something. It's really easy. And when you teach an hour class at a seminar or a camp, you got to make sure you keep your instructions short and to the point and concise.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why, like, do what I'm doing, but also understand you may not be able to do this yet because you don't have the proprioceptive awareness of where your body is. Yeah. Versus where your training partner is versus the flexibility. There were plenty of times where there was technique that I would learn how to do where I'd cut it down into steps. And then eventually I achieved the flexibility because jiu-jitsu, it will make you flexible. Yeah. It'll make you very flexible. And eventually I was able to achieve that flexibility along with the proprioceptive awareness and also control of my own body through space, through these different axes of movement, learning to control myself. Then I'd be able to now start achieving it in a way that kind of resembled the way my black belt was doing it with that efficiency, A to B. I'm trying to make it as straight line as possible, which means I have to carve off as much extra movement as possible. But that just means thousands of reps, thousands of failures, thousands of getting up and doing it again and doing it again. And then once you feel it right the first time, you're going to be like, oh, wow. And then you'll never forget that. And what'll happen is you'll screw up again. You screw up another 100 times before you get it right. But then the ratio to wrong to right starts going in the direction of right. And then what happens is you start correcting your own self throughout the movement. And then once you get to the point where you can start correcting yourself through your movement. Well, now my job is complete. I've taught you the movement.
Right.
Passing that baton just takes a long time.
Right.
That takes a long time from instructor to student, because there's a lot of things you need to figure out on your end first regarding that movement that I can't teach you. You know what I mean?
In order to be a teacher, I feel like you've got to be very patient with people. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got to be patient because I have to understand that when I come out to England again and I come out and visit Sam, because that is going to happen. When I'm sitting there looking at all of you guys, like I'm looking at a representative of me at every point in my journey.
In your journey,
when I see you struggling with this movement, asking this question, I had that question. I'm looking at myself. I'm looking. All of you guys are. That's brown belt me. That's blue belt me. That's purple belt me. Yeah. So I get it. So it's not. Also, it's not. It doesn't. Sometimes it gets frustrating, but it's very, very few and far between. It's actually quite comical. Because it's just funny because it's like I'm reliving everything that I did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But it's also very motivating because you're always going to be there when somebody makes a breakthrough, and that's a very, very rewarding place to be at when they make that mental, that physical breakthrough. Yeah. Because a lot of, especially escapes, you know, not just your defense. Your defense, if you're in an armbar, your defense should always lead to an escape. If your defense doesn't lead to an escape, then you're just wasting your energy. And I like to lead people down that road where they're always in a defensive positioning and they're never really escaping and they're never bettering their position.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'll just submit you. Because you can only defend for so long before you get submitted. Now where was I going with that? See the rabbit hole, man. It's easy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, for sure.
It's easy, man. It's easy.
I was asking you about patience of like being,
the patience.
Teacher.
There's no. I don't know why I'd say there's patience. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's fun. Even when I actually have to get like my voice firm with somebody, it's because they're literally like, you're not listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's like, listen, stop. It's like, stop what you're doing. And I'm like, do this. And you're like, okay. I'm like, good to go. No big deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes when people, my biggest pet peeve when I'm teaching classes, when people try and ad lib the movement, it's like, listen, teach what I'm showing you. You're not going to develop the correct pathway. Because it's, especially being a brand new white belt, you're a sponge. I want to develop the correct neuromuscular pathways.
Yeah.
And if this is where we can either make you or we can break you. I can either generate extremely good technique and habits at this point, or we can generate extremely detrimental techniques that will survive.
A lot of that is just to do with ego, though, man. Like if you're a white belt, you've got to expect yourself to be bad. You've got to
some of it is.
You've got to be a bit like, you've got to have humility. At the end of the day, you're going to get tapped out every day for the next 3 months. You've got to be okay with that, and you've got to be willing to listen. I think that's
for a long time, man. I mean, dude, going on 18 years, I still get my butt kicked. I mean, that's not. I may tap you out. It didn't mean you just didn't kick my ass. I mean, I know more submissions than you. So I know more places to get out of. I can cause you to tap in different places that you may be crushing me. But when people start to ad lib, when I'm teaching a technique, when they're drilling, I have to, I'm like, guys, do what I showed. That's it.
Yeah.
Do what I showed. I don't, just rep it out. That's it. I put 5 minutes on the clock. Just rep. I don't care what it looks like, but just rep what I showed you. Higher level guys, what I'll do is I'll separate them, and then what I'll do is I will show them that, but then the next round of drilling, because the way I do my classes, we'll do a little warm up. I'll show technique. Then I'll break guys up. One person will drill 5 minutes, and their partner will drill 5 minutes. We'll come back together. We'll do a question and answer.
Yeah.
I'll go over the question and answer, and then depending on how I saw people going, I might go into the next phase of that, or we'll do another round of 5 and 5 drilling. Yeah. And then, we may stay with the same technique for the whole class, or we may move to a new, we may move on into phases of that technique based on how I see them getting it.
Sure.
So I got to, as an instructor, I got to make sure I stay on that, and I just tell guys, listen, man, just do what I'm showing you.
I think, as someone that's just starting out, that piece of advice of just have a look to see what I'm doing. Don't pay attention to what I'm saying, but just literally try and replicate what I'm doing. That's it, bro. That's it.
That's it. Try and replicate it. Don't worry about what it looks like, because it's going to look like shit. That's fine.
Sure.
There's nothing you're going to do about it right now. What I mean? And that's the thing about jiu-jitsu, and that's, you wish the world did jiu-jitsu, right? Because you can't force it. You're going to figure the list of things that you need to figure out on your own that are separate from what your teacher is going to teach you.
Yeah.
That timeline is on you, and it's not, there's going to be there's going to be bursts of quickness from one point to the next, and then there's going to be bursts, or not even a burst. There's going to be parts that lag. It just seemed like, man, I'm. And this all ties in what we were talking about before. Those are the times where I would step away from the mat, as I was coming up for like 2 or 3 weeks. No jiu-jitsu, no nothing, still conditioning, still doing everything, just clearing my mind out, and then something would pop up on Facebook or something, and I'd be like, all right, time to get back on the mat. And I get back on the mat, and I'd come back, and I'd be refreshed, and I'd be better than I was before my high point before that last break. And I found myself doing that a lot, and that was also good for injuries and stuff like that. And that, like I said, it's all a circle, man. So taking that time off and doing that stuff is, it's all helpful. It's all going to help you do this for the rest of your life, and to teach you to not be like, I need it now, I need it, because that's not going to happen. Even the rushes of quick learning don't happen overnight. You're either patient or you quit.
Patient or you quit, bro. Well, listen, Joey, it's been fucking awesome to have you on the show, man. I really do appreciate your time, man. And hopefully, in the next, when this all is over, we can actually meet in person. We'll go with sparring.
Oh yeah,
Lincoln, or we go to Mexico or to America. It'd be awesome, man. I'm really looking
forward to it. Because Sam's been, he was really busy over the last like 18 months, 2 years, getting his gym going and everything like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, traveling's been at the minimum for him. But once this all gets figured out, I mean, you guys, as long as you aren't allergic to cats, you guys got places to stay. You got places to train.
Yeah,
bro. We'll feed you. We'll go do stuff. You guys are more than welcome, obviously, to come down to Mexico.
Yeah.
And then I'm definitely going to come out to Lincoln and come hang out with you guys for a couple of weeks. And, because it's literally from here, I fly to Dublin, I can fly right there.
Oh, is it to Dublin, is it? Not to London?
The international airport that's around here, 5-hour flight right to Dublin. And that airport is like 30 minutes away from me.
Yeah.
And then from there, from Dublin, I can get a flight right to Heathrow or a smaller airport closer to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll probably be East Midlands, to be fair, bro. So
so that way you don't have to drive to pick me up at Heathrow or anything.
We'll pick you up, man. Pick you up from East Midlands, man. So
yeah. I mean, we'll make it all work, because I've been up to Northeast to visit up there. I taught up there, and then I can't remember that camp. I went to Copenhagen. Okay, then met Sam in London. The last time I was in England, me and Sam were in London for 5 days, and we went to Amsterdam for like 4 days or 3 days, and then we went to the Leuven camp. That was a good time. Yeah. So that was the last time I think that was the last time I seen Sam, because that was after the USA camp, and that was the last time he was here. So yeah, I got to come back out to England and come visit you guys and teach some seminars and go tromp around England and go hiking and go drinking beers and all that good stuff.
For sure, man. All right, dude, listen, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, it was great talking to you, and hopefully we get back on the mat soon.
For sure. Do you have like a handle or anything where people can find you, or
just that Joe Ruck? Yeah.
Oh, on Instagram. Yeah, bro.
Yeah, that's all.
Awesome,
yeah, I don't do Facebook anymore. I'm not a big old,
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, if someone wants to get in touch with you for like doing a seminar or anything like that, I'll leave your link in the description, and they can get in touch, bro.
Yeah, just do the Joe Ruck and then from there, if they message me, I can, the information can get, better from there.
Yeah. Awesome, bro. Well, you have a good night, man. And
great talking to you. Stay safe out there. I hope, I wish you the best and stay safe, and hopefully this goes through without.
Hopefully it blows over soon, bro. But like, as I say, like, man, just keep washing your hands and shit, bro. That's what you can do.
That's it. All right, brother.
Yeah. All right, bro. Take care, bro.
Later.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the first episode with Joey Carta. His Instagram bio is in the description, and I'll see you guys next time.